Hi, it's Neil here from Wedding Help NI, and we're at the beautiful Belle Isle Estate here in County Fermanagh. Jenna's with me, and our fantastic guest today knows everything about Fermanagh.
Yep.
You're a Fermanagh girl, Sophie, Cruising Creative.
Yep.
And you know about the lakes of Fermanagh.
Yes.
The lakelands of Fermanagh.
Yes.
And that's where the name come from, isn't that right?
It is, yes. So cruising comes from the fact that I live on a boat.
None of us knew that, did we? We didn't have a clue. We discussed this.
I know, it was people are like, oh, cruising, that seems kind of like a weird name. Why does it come about? So that's a good conversation starter for me. It's like, well, actually that's why I went up with the idea. But no, I've been living on the boat now for 5 years with my husband, so we are actually not too far from here, and we do cruise down to Belle Isle as well. It's such a beautiful part of the world.
You had a really successful TikTok as well with the boat.
I did at one point. I
didn't actually realise that. Like we were chatting at the awards last year, and you were chatting with Peter. I think Jenna, you were chatting as well, and I think it might have been Peter said to me, you know, Sophie, do you ever see a TikTok account there in the boat? You know, that's her, and I was all, my goodness, that. And I was like, real quick, because I'd seen it before.
Yeah.
But it hadn't.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
It hadn't sort of think me through then that this, you know, this other business, Cruising Creative.
Well, that's it. I do get people on the street now stop me. They're like, "You're the boat girl. You're the boat girl. That's the girl on the boat." So yeah, no, we started just sharing our life on social media, especially TikTok and on Instagram. And showing like the mundane part of our life was what was most interesting. Like people are like, but how do you live in a 6 foot wide space?
Yeah. You
know, and it is 60 foot long, but she's only 6 foot wide. You can stretch your arms and you'll hit each side of the wall.
Not me anyway.
But no, it's like for us, we shared about like, you know, how we get water, how we travel, how we cruise, and it became really popular. People ask questions all the time, and the most common question is it cold on the boat during the winter? Which is it not.
Do you just keep around for a minute? I suppose we've all chat about your business too, but we're interested now.
Yes, so we're based in Enniskillen, and we would travel around. You know, we would go on lovely wee boat trips. We can head all the way down. So if you go past Belle Isle, you go all the way down south, you can hit Limerick.
Right, so Carrick and Shannon.
Carrick and Shannon would be your, and then Athlone, and then so you can head down.
Have you done that? Have you?
We've done Carrick. And Shannon is our furthest point, but Kismet, our boat name, Cruising Kismet, she's had a previous owner to us, so we're the second owners of her, and she has travelled the whole of the network of the Irish, Scottish, and English waterways. So she has seen a lot more than we have.
How long? I'm just curious now. So from Enniskillen to Carrick and Shannon, how long in the boat would that take? Like, do you have to mirror on it?
Yeah, it really depends on how long you want to stay in places. Like the whole of the River Shannon and the Erne Shannon waterways is absolutely beautiful, and you do kind of want to take your time. Now we did to Carrick and Shannon from Enniskillen, and it did us about 2 weeks there and back. And we actually stopped in Drumshanbo, so it's up in Leitrim. So we did Loch Allen. So we're really into our like gin distilleries and stuff. So we went around, had a wee detour up there, and then we went down then to Carrick after that, and we did Lockheed as well.
Drumshanbo's big into country music as well, so
they are.
And stuff.
Yeah, the fantastic pubs down there, wee old pubs. But no, we would take. I think it took us about.
Fortune Peter and Drumshanbo, see you.
So we it took us about 2 weeks, but just blissfully 2 weeks. It is. It's tough. Like for us, we did the locks for our first time, you know, up and down, like we call them water elevators, you know, up and down, going higher and lower. There's 16 in total to get to Carrick and Shannon.
Right.
Yeah, that's direct to Carrick. If you want to go to the likes of Loch Allen, it's an extra 3. If you want to go to Lockheed, it's an extra 1. And each lock is different. There's some really deep ones. There's some very wide ones. So you really start to learn to be a pair, a dynamic pair, because you realise that you have a 60-foot and 20-ton boat to have to manoeuvre. It's not easy.
You must both have a sort of passion for that too, but you know, he's one, you know, you'd have to have a passion for that too.
Well, that's it, and we both had to be on board with, literally on board with it, pun intended. We had to be on board together with it. We both loved the idea of tiny living, you know, simple living, where we're not consuming as much. We're not, you know, we don't have as many possessions and stuff. And we had always had that idea of having like maybe a wee tiny house or something on wheels or even a van. That was always the plan. We did live in England for a few years for university.
Are you both originally from Fermanagh?
Yes.
Is that
no,
right?
we're not. We're Blowens. We're actually Blowens.
Oh, you're Blowens?
Yes.
Right.
We're from County Armagh.
What?
Yes.
My goodness.
Yeah, I'm from like Rich Hill direction, and my husband's from Loughgall direction. So, you know, we're like we went to school together. We went to Portdown College. You know, we grew up together. We're like childhood sweethearts, if you call it like that. Went to university together because we both studied like quite similar things, and it was the best university for what we wanted to get into. And we went to university. It was in Stoke-on-Trent. Now, not the most beautiful town or village or city to be in for university.
What did you study at university?
So I studied CGI and visual effects.
Right.
Which is completely
but
not.
I suppose it does in a way. It does in a way. Like, you know, you've been using equipment and stuff. So you.
Yeah, so we had, we had actually Blackmagic cameras we were learning from.
Right, we were just chatting about that before.
We were chatting about Blackmagic and the cost of them as well. So we learned to film, we learned to compose, we learned to direct as well. It was a lot of skill there, and also to edit. So my editing skill from photo and video comes from my university days. Now, I didn't get into CGI and visual effects at the time. Like COVID hit and a lot of people lost their jobs because no films or movies or games could be made. So there was a backlog of almost, you know, people who had lost their jobs to people graduating. So there was a huge kind of fight for jobs.
But I suppose with that industry as well, and you know, like I've been working around the universities doing sort of midweek gigs and stuff, and you'd be chatting to students that are doing like sort of creative courses and stuff. And because there's so many creative courses now, you know, you sort of think, whereas all the jobs for that
well,
too,
that's it. And we are. I mean, I was going to go into gaming, and games are made all the time. Like the hunger for games and constantly pushing out, like FIFA. How many FIFA games do we have? Like it was constantly being pushed out at the time. And then films. I mean, the movie and even the series industry of like Netflix and the rise of like series streaming services has obviously been very big. So that was another thing as well. So there was always something there, but then obviously with COVID and stuff. But when we were in Stoke-on-Trent, there's a beautiful Trent Mersey canal that runs right through the town, or the city rather. Yeah. It's like multiple towns. And we would walk to
up north, isn't it? Sort of.
Yeah,
north,
it's like do you know what? It's slap bang in between Birmingham and Manchester, which is great. So you can choose which kind of airport is the cheapest whenever you want to go home. So we were, you know, right on the canal, going to uni, and we would see these wee boats pass, and we were like, "What is that?" Like for us, growing up in Northern Ireland, we would never see anything, you know, close. Now we grew up, like we would go on holidays in Fermanagh every year, and we would see like your speed boats and your, you know, your jet skis, but we never saw a barge. But one day, whenever we were back home from COVID, we were actually going to buy a boat in England and live there, but obviously with the whole pandemic we couldn't. So we came home one day, or we were came home and went on a holiday weekend, went on a jet ski, found a barge, and it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's barges in Lough Erne. Like there's barges in Fermanagh.
You wouldn't really think that too, because I suppose you think that sort of that, you know, there is places in England, like funny, I was in January, I was away working just outside Liverpool, and it was staying in a, not Travelodge, one of them other brands.
Aye.
But it was right beside the museum for narrowboats. For narrowboats, or like a narrowboat
barges,
museum. Barges. And actually, I walked around, like, there was a few barges there. There was one pulled out and stuff, and it suited the area, if you know what I mean. But you don't really think that for Northern Ireland as such.
Well, that's it. And we don't have the beauty of the canals anymore. You know, we did have canals that connected a lot of the Northern Irish network, but now they've been run down. We're hoping that in our lifetime we will have the Lough Neagh connected to Lough Erne, and that would be our dream, that we could actually get to Lough Neagh through our boat, you know, through the Ulster Canal, and even possibly to Belfast. Like, it would be amazing, you know. But yeah, that's how our kind of love for tiny living happened, was through university. And when we actually packed all our stuff away from the pandemic, we were told, you need to leave this house in 24 hours. We packed everything.
Did you live in
Yes,
Stoke-on-Trent?
we were living in Stoke-on-Trent for...
After university for a while then?
Well, no, it was during university that we had to go. And it was just our final year, and we were told, you need to leave now, because we were so uncertain at that point. We just didn't know what was going on. And we said, my dad said, I'm going to come collect you on the boat. I'm bringing the car. You and my husband now, my boyfriend at the time, had to pack everything. When we packed everything, we didn't even fill up the car, and that was both of us together. We were like, gosh, we don't have a lot of possessions. We were like, we're not really those kind of people. Like, I would personally, I wear a lot of secondhand clothes, you know, like I'm not really materialistic in that sense. I don't really like to have a lot of stuff. Other than all my camera equipment, which takes up all my space. Yeah. But you know, it's just like, it was nice knowing that you were looking on the ferry and there's like these kids that have like massive cars and things in the top, and we were like, do you know what? We actually don't need a lot. And then when we found that barge and we were on the jet ski.
But I suppose the world as well. Like, I think because of like Amazon and stuff, we've become very consumer-led as such. Yeah. Whereas I think if you go back 20, 30 years ago, probably wasn't like that. As you know, everybody's become very much, you know, buying indie products and buying indie different things.
Like for us, like the good thing is that when you live on a 60-foot by 6-foot space, your parents can't buy you a lot of stuff. You know, you have to tell them, right, well, for Christmas, I don't need an extra mug that I have 100 of. Just give me like a nice experience, and that's what we do with each other, is we would buy each other experiences rather than possessions, because we don't need stuff.
So the brand Cruising Creative, that's sort of how that came about?
Yes, because we have, so our TikTok would be Cruising Kisma.
Right.
Kisma was the name of the boat.
Yeah.
So Cruising Kisma, Cruising Creative kind of had that, you know, CC kind of, you know.
And when did you start that brand, I suppose?
So I was doing a lot of commercial work at the very beginning. So I started in 2023.
Right.
I was in a lovely corporate marketing role at the time, and unfortunately things came about, acquisitions and things like that, and I was no longer kind of needed for the role per se. And I just decided I'm going to go off my own path. Big risk, but... Yeah.
And did you know much about the wedding market, or was that completely new?
I was not huge into the wedding market. In fact, whenever I started doing weddings, I'd only ever been to one wedding in my life.
Right.
So, and it was like my uncle's wedding or something. I was like maybe 12 at the time. Yeah. But, you know, it never really kind of clocked on to me about weddings until I shot behind the scenes content for a photographer at a wedding, and it was in Crom Castle, which is just slightly further south from here, and it was amazing. And I was like, there is something here. There was a spark that lit up that day, and I was like, I really would love to go into this. Being with an editor background, I knew I could edit videos quite easily, and then I just had to get pushed into it. My first wedding was here in Belle Isle, which I was...
And was that doing content creation first, and then you...
It was just that content creation for behind the scenes, and then I had done like content creation for brands and businesses and stuff. But then I decided to pick up the camera, try it out. Yeah. Content creation wasn't really a thing at the time whenever I was starting out. Yeah. But it really has grown so much. It's brilliant to see. But no, I was like more in the video side. I was like, do you know what, I can try edit videos, and then I was still delivering videos in vertical format anyway, so I was you know, starting off like a content creator, you know. So my first wedding was here. It was brilliant. It was, and then I was like, I really want to keep doing this.
Were you very nervous at that? Because I suppose then whenever you're Grundy son, especially at a wedding, you always I remember, for me, like coming from an entertainment background, you sort of, you know, you're doing pubs and you're doing different stuff, and then you start to get weddings, you're all weddings, you know, and you're really in it. Did you feel that sort of thing as well? Or?
Yeah, it was a big shift between doing corporate to doing weddings, because you're going from B to B to B to C. You're direct to the customer, and it is very much like a hospitality role. You have to really, it's a long day of a wedding, and you have to really be at your top form the whole day. Which for me at the beginning, I was like, gosh, it's a very long day, and you know, the travel involved and things. Yeah. But then I got used to it, and you start to fall in love with your couples and your venues and your vendors, and it almost becomes a lot easier than to be on your own. You're never really on your own in the wedding industry. You're surrounded by so many amazing people, which makes my life a lot easier, you know.
And how did you find the change from solely content creation to then going into videography, because they're both so different.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
So how do you find that difference there?
Yeah, so I find that like filming vertically is different to filming horizontally, because there's so much more to fill in the frame, and you have to almost position it differently. And having a phone is great, but then you're like, gosh, I have so much equipment now because I have cameras, mics. It racked up very quickly, and then once I decided that this was the path I wanted to go down, it's a huge investment for video, specifically for the amount of cameras you need, the amount of lenses. I mean, they cost more than the cameras themselves. And then all your subscriptions and everything. I'm sure you're the same. Subscriptions just to put the content somewhere, edit the content, booking systems, for all vendors.
And that's the side that people don't see as well. Sure, they don't.
Yeah, and like whenever you're going to weddings, you're like, gosh, I have a lot of equipment here, but you realise that's what you need to have. You need the tripods, you need all the stuff. People don't realise, you kind of make it look quite seamless, where they don't see all the behind the scenes. They don't see you struggling and sweating away trying to get all this stuff, put up.
And speaking of equipment, we've actually got something here with us today. And do you want to talk us through?
This is my baby.
So this is your wee baby. Does it have a name like the way the book does?
No, it doesn't actually. I should actually have a name for it, because this one's really special. So this is a camcorder. Okay. This is, I don't know if people know what age you are or whatever, but I grew up with one of these. This is actually my daddy's. So this is really special.
Oh,
this
that's lovely.
Yeah, so my life was filmed on this, my whole life. Like my parents filmed every ounce, every day was filmed, which for me is such a privilege, because I get to look back on those moments. Every wedding was filmed on this. My dad was always like right in, getting all the shots, Yeah. So whenever I got married in 2024, I got a Super 8 camera, and I got a girl to film it for me, and I loved it so much. But it was it was very expensive, first of all, to get the film and things, and I was thinking, gosh, you would need to then get it developed and all this. But then I thought, well, I have this, I grew up with this. This seems more familiar to me than a Super 8 camera, although they're absolutely beautiful. They're a lot older.
I suppose explain as well to somebody listening what is it?
The difference?
Yeah, so the difference between a camcorder and a Super 8. Yeah, so a camcorder is more like digitalized, so you have a little cassette in the back here. Unfortunately, this one's actually, I think, out of power, so I won't be able to open the cassette, but little cassette in here, a bit like the ones you put in your car. And it would record directly onto that, and you can override that all the time. Okay. Whereas
about like recording on the tape.
A VHS, same like a VHS, but this is just obviously a smaller version. Yeah. It's a lot more modern, I guess, so than the Super 8 camera there. That you need film for them. A lot of film has already expired by our year, by our day. Day and age, you would have to look after film a lot better than you would a cassette. So film needs to be stored in the fridge and things like that. There's a lot of care put into film, which is why film cameras are so beautiful, because they're so unique. And as much as I loved it, I thought, well, I'm familiar with this. This is what I grew up with. So this is just a standard. It's called Hi8 camcorder. So Super 8 Hi8. Don't tell me what that means. I have no idea. I think it's like 8mm lens, but it's very clunky. You can see it's like a big chunky thing, but it's so analog. It's so, your digital cameras are great. Your 4K cameras, which I do film on my 4K. I've three.
You do a mix.
I do a mix. I have a mix between the two, but this is you can go in and fix this, whereas you can never open up a camera, or your phone, you can never open it up and be like, what's going on here. You can actually go in and have a look, and you can see all the mechanisms and stuff. It's really beautiful. But yeah, so I have maybe 3 or 4 of these now. I've started building my arsenal of camcorders. They're great, and they've really taken on with the wedding industry.
But it's so unique. There's nobody else doing that.
No, well, that's it. I don't want to claim that I'm the first. I don't think I am, but maybe I'm up there as one of the first, maybe in the island of Ireland. Who knows?
And I think it's very much to your personality.
Yes.
And that's
exactly.
It is very much to you. You sent me, so I've seen the finished product. You sent me some footage of one of my shows that we done at a wedding. and it was a bit of a mix.
It was a mix between the two.
I like that.
Do you know what?
It's lovely,
it
isn't
was
it?
class. It was class, you know. You need to see it, and I think couples need to see it.
Yeah.
You know, but if you see that sort of, because I was all back at this, like, look, it sort of looks old-fashioned, but you know, but it's not old-fashioned. It's old-fashioned. It's 30 years. It's 30 years maybe ago.
Yeah, it was definitely brought up in the 90s. I can say that. And I always say to my couples, it's very nostalgic. It's very cozy.
That's the word.
Yeah.
It's almost like the memory is being played as it happens. You know, like you're looking back and you're like, gosh, that feels like ages ago, but it just happened. It is such a beautiful and a unique way of filming. Yeah. And I love the way the two have the two difference, like between the really beautiful, crispy 4K footage and then the really raw kind of blurry.
How do you find editing and putting that together? So do you then obviously bring this onto a computer along with your 4K sort of cameras and stuff?
Yes, so 4K, I mean, we're so lucky now we can just plug it into the laptop.
And that's right, it's uploaded.
This one's a little bit more tricky and I don't want to give away all my secrets.
No, of course not.
I can digitalise this myself and that's the beauty of it. Like a Super 8 camera, usually you would send it off and it would take maybe weeks, if not months to develop.
So you can put the two together then and then you can sort of... And do you find that difficult then, I suppose, because you've got this older material?
Yeah.
How do you find mixing that?
I love mixing it because I feel like it makes my 4K footage look better. It makes it pop. It makes it really...
It gives you a different feeling.
Yeah, it does.
Like when I, even just you sitting there with that, I'm just thinking back of to when I was like 2. Yeah. And I'm in the living room and my mum and dad's talking and then when I think of like a brand new camera that's 4K, it's crisp, I think modern, I think social media, like it gives you two different types of feelings.
It really does. And like I started now giving this to my couples as a new experience, call it. I always have a camcorder on me at all times. I'll film as much as I can. But I've started giving this, like my other cameras now, to guests, and I call it the guest POV. You know, it's something
very good.
Yeah, it's something completely different where you've got a completely different angle than what I would take. I'm coming in and I've got my harness on, my camera's on, and I'm shooting towards a couple or a guest, and they're like, oh, that's a videographer, you know, like, oh. But then if you hand it to a guest, they're like, hi, hello, how are you? You know, the dynamic completely changes. It's brilliant.
And I think for something like that as well, that hi, hello.
Yeah, which is always what it was like, you know, say hello to the camera.
Yeah, it works so well, like it really brings that in.
Yeah, and I remember like, you know, Christmases, you were opening up your presents and stuff, and your dad was zooming right into your face, like, what do you think of this, you know?
Even if we think back, you know, to were you even born?
In the 90s I was born, yes.
So, but if you think back to the 90s, like if you've seen somebody with the camera, they have a camcorder. Yeah. Now we have all, like, you know, like literally iPads are 4K, for example, you know.
Well, it's gone, you know, so quickly. The
technology now is so accessible. You know, I'm not saying anybody can be a videographer, but with the equipment now today, it's so readily available for everybody. Whereas I think if you think back to the 90s, you know, I don't remember many people with these, and if you seen somebody with them, you know, you were like, oh, they have a camcorder.
They weren't cheap. They really weren't.
No, they weren't. You know, and that sort of technology didn't exist. You know, it wasn't.
Exactly.
It was very much of its time. You know, very, very ahead of its time. Maybe you want to say.
Yeah,
like,
it really was, and like even videographers at the time were using these as well, sticking them on tripods, or even the little thing to put onto a tripod. You know, so these were, you know, they were almost a luxury for a lot of people.
Yeah, of course, it wasn't something everybody had.
But now it's cheaper to buy this. But you see the cassettes. The cassettes are very expensive because
very hard to get and stuff,
a bit like film. Too. There's only so many that's been made, and they're not made anymore. So
I think that's what happened. Kodak, isn't it? Kodak were like one of the biggest companies in the world. Yeah. And I think they didn't move. This is an interesting fact. Now you can take this with you.
I like all this because I'm loving this. I love
it. Kodak, I think they basically they didn't move with technology, and people said, oh, you know, you should be creating something new, and they stuck with film. Yeah. So they did, because they were making so much money. Yeah. Kodak were making, you know, millions and millions of pounds from film, and they thought, well, it's never going to change, but it did change.
It changed,
because,
and it changed very quickly.
You know, it just the whole industry just went, well, we don't need that film anymore.
Yeah.
There's a storage drive. It just goes on to that.
That's it. And I remember the Kodak film being like bright red, bright yellow branding.
Yeah.
Disposable cameras and stuff.
Yeah.
And like disposable cameras nowadays are like, you know, very, very expensive to buy because there's only so many being made.
They're not putting the film out. It's just
Exactly.
you know I think Kodak do still exist.
I think I've seen a few things.
But it is. I think it's
say.
like such a it's like such a small industry now. It's like a niche sort of product that that you're not really needing. Like you know.
It's unique, but it's like I said, it's nostalgic. It's raw.
It's like you know the footage you sent me.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It was lovely, and you know I think for a wedding couple seeing that.
Yeah.
You know
and even like so when I hand this to a guest, I don't expect them to film the whole day. Like they have to be a guest as well.
Yeah.
But I just said, do you know what? Just pass it around and get different angles. And people do different things. And I actually just love watching like what they come up with. And whenever I'm digitalising everything, I'm like, that's a brilliant idea. Like that's really cool.
Yeah.
Like I had a wedding there in Beach Hill a few days ago, and the person who took the camcorder, she just like was brilliant. Like she was so bubbly and asking everybody questions. What do you think of the day? What do you think she's going to wear? And all this.
Yeah.
And you look back on those memories, and she even did a kiss cam, and it was so beautiful. Like I just edited it all together, and I was like she's got her grandparents having a wee kiss with each other, and you know, and it was just so beautiful.
Again,
you know.
Again, I think that's down to a lot of that's down to your personality.
Yeah.
So it's not that you're buying into, and we actually talked about this because I was going to start an argument at the start of this. But if you said that there isn't many female videographers, and I sort of thought about it, and I was like, there's no, but there isn't. There's loads of photographers. There's lots of photographers that are females, but videographers, it wasn't really that I thought about it, and then we talked about the heavy equipment and all. But a lot of that, I think that's why your personality is perfect for this.
Yeah.
Because I know male videographers, brilliant at what they do, amazed at what they do, but I don't think you can come along with that sort of.
Well, that's it. And
do you know what I'm saying?
100%.
You can't come along and you can't sort of go, you know, here's a camcorder. Let's do, you know, let's hand this to a guest. It's a different thing for a male to go and do that. So your personality is perfect for that.
Yeah.
And do you know what? There's such a big selling point there.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
to a couple,
it's been so popular.
And I suppose as well, it gives you something different from what you might normally get from a videographer.
Yeah.
Because you were saying there, the kiss camera and stuff like that.
Like so many
you're not
unique
things. You're not going to get that, but you're going to have this content in 4K, so you're going to have
the lovely stuff anyway.
So, you know, you're going to have your speeches. You're going to have like obviously whenever you're recording all the speeches, ceremony and all, you're doing that on 4K. And whenever we talk 4K, we mean that's basically like any other videographer will give you that content. But on top of that, you're also going to get this content that's so personal, so out there and so different.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's so raw. Like when I had given a camcorder to a guest, and she actually recorded during the ceremony, and she recorded the bride going down the aisle, and it was almost like a split second of her going down the aisle, and then pan straight to the person beside her who was in bits, and she was just crying, and I was like, you never see that because you never see people's reactions. Like you'll see her going down the aisle, and it's lovely and crispy and it's beautiful and stuff, but it's like it's just like that happened at that second, and it was so emotional, and and they'll treasure that forever. Yeah. Even like whenever you're going round and you're pointing the camera at somebody and they're like, how do you think of the day so far? Is there any wee message you want to give to the couple? And it could be your granda or your granny, and they're saying like, oh, I love you guys so much, and it's just so special to see people, and I never really get that on my side.
And I don't think you would, and you know, I don't think you would from that sort of perspective either, because people, I suppose they're all, oh no, I don't want that. I don't want that in their wedding video. Yeah. Whereas they maybe look at that camera and they go, oh, this is safe because
it's familiar.
It's safe. It's fun. It's. Whereas I think they look at a videographer and go, well, that's very professional. I'm not going to say something that's out there and you know,
even the likes of
meaningful.
You can get really big lenses nowadays. They can seem really intimidating whenever you've got something that this is a wee tiny little thing, and you know it's just pointing.
But I see us even going about, like as you say, that's familiar. I see us even going about doing the podcast work and stuff, and the wee mic stuff. People's, you know, back it out of the sort of the way or whatever. You know, so with this here, that doesn't intimidate, and you can get that wee family memories, like, you know.
Exactly. It's great. It's just since bringing this on board with my business, and it's something that it's really close to my heart because of my upbringing.
Your memories,
Bringing that in and seeing my couples enjoy it so much is just lovely, and the interest it's had. You know, the support that it's had, people are like, this is brilliant, you know, it has made me know, right, okay, this is actually my niche now, it's something that I can set myself apart, being a female in the male-dominated industry as well, but having that something little different, you know, like, is great, you know. It's
so what does the future hold for, what, you know, what's your future hold in weddings, and because you are quite new to it too as well. Like
I am new. Do you know what? I can't say that I'm in the industry 10 years. I'm not. I'm learning every single day. Every wedding is different. There's so many suppliers that you start to get to know, and that supportive network makes your life so much easier. Where I see myself, I don't know. I'm hoping that these still stay around, because I'm hoping.
I think this is such a unique thing, and I think only your personality could do that. So I think you have such a great market. You know, and what I mean by that is nobody can just adopt that and take it. Do you know?
Exactly.
It's part of your personality.
Exactly.
I think. So it's more than just buying on it, you know.
Yeah, and maybe in 10 years' time, it'll not be a camcorder, it'll be a flip phone. Who knows? It could be the next thing, but I just love what this has brought to my business, and it's made me carve a brand for myself that I never thought I was going to have, which I'm so glad for, you know.
Can you tell us a wee bit about your packages? Do you have 1, 2, how many packages do you get?
I have 3 packages. One is more of the half-day package for maybe elopements and things. People don't want me for the full day. And then I have the big bells and whistles package. You know, it's got everything. It's got a second shooter. But every single one of my packages will have the guest POV. So I'll be handing a camera to whoever, no matter what, which is a nice little kind of consistency between my packages.
Tell us, where can people find you online? What's your...
so you can find me on TikTok, Instagram and Facebook, but mostly TikTok and Instagram is kind of my main.
And it's all Cruising Creative?
Cruising Creative is my main, and then cruisingcreative.com is my website as well.
Brilliant, thanks.
Can we
so
also
much.
add in another prop that we have brought?
Oh yes, we've
Since
forgotten
we live
about
on
this.
the boat.
Oh,
do you
right.
want to take it?
Can you show us it?
This is my little...
And is this how your boat looks?
Is this the miniature version?
It's not the exact version, but it's pretty darn close. Like
there we go.
It's really,
This is real life size as well, by the way. Yeah, this is the exact same size that she lives on.
When I say stretch my arms, I didn't mean your arms.
That's more my size, isn't it?
But yes, this is our little replica kind of boat.
Brilliant.
But I brought it along just to show you what it looks like, how narrow it is as well. Like people don't understand like how actually narrow it is. When they step in as well, they're surprised by the size of it on the inside, because we actually have quite a high ceiling.
Right.
So although we're...
I suppose because you think about it in the water, you're not really...
Well, people, it's funny, I made a TikTok on it and it went viral, and I said people do think we're like little hobbits where we just crouch in. Whenever you step down, you're actually stepping down into almost past the water line. You're in the water.
Yeah.
So we have like full, like my husband's 5'11", 6 foot, and he can touch the ceiling. Like he doesn't touch the ceiling, but he can, you know, walk around freely. You know, there's But people are genuinely surprised by how big it is on the inside. So ironically, it's small, narrow boat.
There we go.
Well,
so we have lots of information. So there we go. That has been Sophie, Cruising Creative.
Thank you.
And if you're looking something about different, check out Sophie. Thanks, and bye for now.
Bye.